On today's Smart 7, the G-Summit's surprise visitor, there's no Schofield this morning, and lots more. It's Monday the 22nd of May, it's World Goth Day, and happy birthday, Morrissey.
The Smart 7, it's news, but not the news.
G7 leaders have been meeting in Japan over the weekend for the annual summit, but one man has dominated the event and is not even a member. After a quick stop in Saudi Arabia, Ukraine's President Zelensky made a surprise appearance in Hiroshima, where the summit took place. He hit back at Russia's claim of a battlefield victory in the eastern Ukrainian city of Bakhmut and gave a moving summary of the situation on the ground.
You have to understand that there is nothing. They destroyed everything. There are no buildings. It's a pity, it's tragedy, but for today, Bakhmut is only in our hearts.
His presence brought a united front from the G7 leaders who said they would not waver in their support for Ukraine, including US President Joe Biden, who gave positive signals on the much-hoped-for F-16s and pledged fresh military aid and support.
The United States, together with our allies and partners, is going to begin training Ukrainian pilots in fourth-generation fighter aircraft, including F-16s. To strengthen Ukraine's Air Force as part of a long-term commitment to Ukraine's ability to defend itself.
The summit considered issues with both Russia and China, with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak lasered in on the broader threat.
China poses the biggest challenge of our age to global security and prosperity. They are increasingly authoritarian at home and assertive abroad. And as the G7 have showed, the UK's response is completely aligned with our allies.
Suella Braverman's in trouble again, this time over a speeding fine. It dates back to when she was Attorney General and she sought civil service help to avoid the fine and points on her licence. It's alleged she asked her department to arrange a one-to-one course to avoid embarrassment, something they apparently declined to do. Ultimately, she ended up taking the fine, but it's opened a can of worms as she may have breached the ministerial code again, and Labour's Wes Streeting's calling for an inquiry.
Rishi Sunak needs to put his money where his mouth is and show that he stands up for standards in public life and have an immediate investigation under the ministerial code. What is going on in this government? He should never have appointed her in the first place.
Reports from Downing Street say the PM's due to meet his ethics advisor when he gets back from Japan. He wasn't best pleased to be asked about it during the G7 summit by BBC's Chris Mason.
Do you have full confidence in Suella Braverman?
Did you have any questions about the summit?
Seems the PM didn't want the issue overshadowing more important events, but he answered reluctantly.
I understand that she's expressed regret for speeding, accepted the penalty and paid the fine.
He's been a bodybuilder, an actor, governor of California, and now he's coming for the UK's climate record. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he sat down with the BBC's Laura Kuenssberg to urge British politicians to keep the pressure on when it comes to positive action on climate change.
We have to change with the times. We have to get out of that mode of stopping every project from being built. We got to go and build, order screen projects.
Meanwhile, the Tories are talking crap again, quite literally this time. It's after water firms apologised for sewage spills and vowed to spend £10 billion to clean up their act. It turns out they've been banking profits while expecting customers to foot the bill for the clean-up, but Environment Secretary Therese Coffey doesn't seem to have a problem with that.
Well, consumers aren't going to be paying for the illegal discharges, the fines and penalties that have already been levied, but there has to be ongoing investment in these things. Water UK have talked about £10 billion. They need to get on with the job and tackle this.
America's at serious risk of facing either a default on their national debt or a government shutdown by the 1st of June. It's because Republicans are insisting there'll be no extension of the US debt ceiling without budget cuts, and a small group are calling for the US to default entirely on its $31 trillion debt. That'd cause chaos, and President Biden's already reduced the debt by $1.7 trillion. But a late-night phone call on Sunday between McCarthy and Biden on ways to solve the crisis seems to have helped to ease the tensions.
I just finished a phone call with the president. He's still flying back on Air Force One. First, we talked a lot about his trip over there and some of the positive things that take place. Then we spent a lot of time talking about the debt ceiling, where we currently are. And I believe it was a productive phone call.
Still to come on the Smart 7, the Premier League's got a new champion, and it's Phil's final goodbye. Right after this.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it up on the steering wheel or peeks down at it for a glance? Or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough with the phones already. Put them down and pay attention, or pay the price. You drive, you text, you pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Welcome back.
Man United have been crowned Premier League champions again. That's the third season in a row, and they still have 2 games to play. Sunday saw them beat Chelsea 1-0 and become the official champions, with thousands of fans storming onto the pitch to celebrate. They stand at the edge of an historic treble, with an FA Cup final against Man United and a Champions League final against Inter Milan. Pep Guardiola says with all that still to come, it's too soon to be thinking about next season.
Are you telling me after a potential treble to try to do it again?
Yeah.
Are you?
Could you?
Let me go to the holidays. That is a fairy tale in Neverland. So these things will happen. What we are living, you have to know, we have to know, this is the exception.
It seemed like just any old Thursday on this morning as Phil and Holly said goodbye.
See you on Monday. Bye. Bye.
But on Saturday afternoon, a bombshell announcement. He was stepping down from the show after 20 years, effective immediately. There's been weeks of speculation about his relationship with Holly and problems in his personal life, so in some ways it wasn't any surprise. Monday's episode of This Morning may set new audience records though, but sadly, we'll never hear the likes of this again.
But you know what I mean?
If my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. You know, what, you know,
Martin Scorsese's latest movie sees Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro reunite. Killers of the Flower Moon has premiered to the biggest standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival so far. The epic 3-hour, 26-minute drama tells a dark chapter of US history set in Oklahoma as members of the Osage Nation are murdered in a systemic fashion for sinister ends. Cannes seems to love Scorsese, and so does Leo, who was singing his praises.
What Marty does so incredibly well is he's able to expose the humanity of even some of the most twisted, sinister characters you could ever imagine. He brings out the human condition in his work.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes and we'll give you the world.